In today's podcast, you're about to hear another true testimony about what happens when you have everything, then lose it all. In 2008, I'd got married, and as the years progressed, I thought everything was fine. I was starting to build up on my media company and venture off into other avenues like setting up a PA hire company. I was DJing at the time, creating websites for businesses, and running my media company, recording music for TV and radio stations. Yeah, you could say I was a busy guy. I had 2 beautiful girls, a wife, a nice car, I lived in a nice house in a lovely area, and I was well respected in the job that I provided. I was a dedicated churchgoer for many years, and everybody knew who I was in the congregation. Apart from that, I was working on a Christian radio station, and I was helping out and hearing the word of God every single day and applying it to my life. But one day in 2012, everything changed. My wife decided to leave, took the children, took the possessions, and left me in an almost empty house. It wasn't nice at the time, and it wasn't fun to walk through. But one of the key things for me is making sure that I can still hear the voice of God in the midst of a crisis. I must state at this point, I did get a warning before all this happened. So then, as the months progressed, I was still hearing from God. And if I was listening, my attitude was not really the best. It was more like this. You tell me to get married and this happens? You knew the beginning from the end and you knew this was coming, didn't you? And I'm really edgy. But I think it was a bit worse than that, to be honest with you. So the months progressed and everybody had gone. The house was almost empty and there was just echoes of, "Night, Dad. Love you, Dad." So let's face it, that's not the best environment to be in. Then one afternoon, I'm sat in the back garden and having my quiet time. And God speaks to me and says, "I want to talk to you." I knew exactly what it is that I needed. I ran upstairs, got my Bible, brought it downstairs, and sat down and started reading. And this is where God starts to speak through his word. And the words were jumping out of the page. And it said, "I'm going to uproot you and replant you." Well, the second I started reading this, I knew exactly what it is that I was hearing. So God started speaking to me about me moving house. And my sister was going to be selling the house in 3 days. I was like, what? If this can't get any worse. I've been praying for a full restoration for months. So I knew I was still hearing from God. And then God said, "Get prepared to move." And me, well, I weren't having any of this. I was stubborn. I was staying there. Well, the following day was a Friday. I get a phone call from my sister. She says, "Alistair, I'm coming to pay you a visit. Are you in today?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm in." So she arrives, she's walking around the house, and she turns around to me and she goes, "Alistair, we're selling the house." And I turn around and says, "Yeah, I know." She went, "Do you?" I says, "Yeah." I says, "It's going to go on the market on Friday. By Sunday it'll have sold." She went, "Hey? Who's told you?" I said, "God told me. Who do you think told me?" She turns around and she starts laughing and giggling. "Oh, okay, all right. I think Alistair's lost it." So Friday comes around and the house is about to go onto the market. As the weekend progresses, I'm in church on Sunday morning. Finishes the service, comes all the way home, and then the phone rings. I get this phone call from my sister. She tells me, "Alistair, the house is sold. How did you know it was going to sell in 3 days? Are you psychic?" So she turns around to me, she says, "You need to start making preparations to move." I've got a window of 4 months. So a few weeks have moved by and I'm not really looking for any properties. So I'm led to go down towards Sowerby Bridge in Halifax at this point. It's a Sunday afternoon, I just finished church and I'm walking through Sowerby Bridge and I see this estate agents. I'm thinking, what's this doing open on a Sunday? I think I better go in. So I goes in and I turns around to her and says, "Excuse me, you ain't got any properties around here, have you? £300, £400 a month, all bills included and including council tax?" She looks at me and she goes, "You're kidding. You won't find anything like that round here." You see, I've been asking God for a while. If I'm having to move, then I need to have something around about 300 quid with everything included, because otherwise I ain't going to survive. So the weeks progressed and the time is coming very, very quick. And I still ain't looking for anywhere to live. You see, I'd been praying and seeking God, but not really looking. You see, I had a little bit of an attitude problem. My attitude was quite simply this. Look, you knew this was coming. You find me somewhere. Why should I have to do this? And then I'd boldly go back to the throne and ask for forgiveness. So the last and final day of the house, I'm still in the house, knowing farewell, I've got nowhere to live, and I've got to be out of the house at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So I goes to church that Sunday morning as usual. Now, you've got to understand this. I've been asking people in the church, anybody got anywhere to rent? And not one person could help me out anywhere. Everybody knew the situation, but Alistair, no, we can't help you. And then one of the elders came up to me and says, hey, Alistair, he says, could you help this guy out here? I says, yeah, why, what's up? He says, well, he's just coming to Halifax. He's just come to church for the first time, but he's got nowhere to live. I'm thinking to myself at the back of my mind, what? You're kidding me. I've got to find this guy somewhere to live and I can't even get somewhere to live myself. So they turn round to me and they says, would you mind taking him out for something to eat? And at 6 o'clock, can you take him to the homeless shelter? Yeah, okay. So I text him out for something to eat. 6 o'clock comes around, drops him off at this homeless shelter. And at this point, I'm thinking, this is not right. Come on, God, have you forgotten about me? I've got to be out of the house by 9 o'clock in the morning. I've got nowhere to live. There's no prep, no nothing. So a couple of hours have gone by and I get a phone call. So I answered the phone and this guy says, is that Alistair? I went, yeah. He says, you're still looking for somewhere to live? I've just got your email now because I've just come back from holiday. Talk about timing. So God uprooted me, replanted me, and started me off on my new journey. I can look back now and actually laugh at the situations that I went through. But back then, it weren't no laughing matter. I lost the will to live. I had skin disorders. I nearly died. And everybody I once knew departed. And I still walk with God today. And I still hear his voice. I'm Alistair. And this is my podcast.